Yo, what's up, YouTube? So we're going to be talking about bankroll management in this video. How much should you be wagering on a specific day, right? How much of your bankroll, let's say you have $2,000 to bet on sports, how much should you be gambling in a specific day? And then the second question as well is how much should you be placing on each individual bet, right? Those are the two questions we're going to answer in this video. Now, two things should be clear just from the get-go. Number one, you're never going to place all your money on one specific bet, right? Like it's literally like, imagine taking all the money that you've ever made and putting it all in one stock. It wouldn't make any sense. It's too risky, right? Even if you're a great sports bettor, if you're really smart, if you're really sharp, if you put all your money on one player or one bet and that bet loses, then you're broke, right? So you obviously don't want to bet all your money on a specific wager. So that's the first part. And then the second part that's clear is the better the bet, the more money that should be placed on it. So if a play has a, let's say 4% profit margin, you probably want to put more on it than a 2% profit margin. And you probably want to put more on a 2% profit margin play than a 1% profit margin play. So those are kind of the two obvious parts, to know about bankroll management before we go deeper in this video. Is one is you're never going to want to put all your money or too much money on one specific play. And then the second part is the better the bet, the more money you should put on it. But let's go into specific details and kind of go through how I recommend that you manage your bankroll. So the first way to manage your bankroll, it's probably the most popular way, is with units, right? So units are kind of a made up term, and essentially one unit is 1% of your bankroll. Right? So let's say you start betting with $2,000, your unit size would be $20. One unit is 1% of your $2,000 bankroll would be $20. If your bankroll is $1,000, a unit would be $10, right? So essentially the way most sports bettors bet is they'll place their bets in terms of units. So if someone says, hey, I'm betting 2 units on this, that means they're putting 2% of their bankroll on it. But you don't know how much money they're actually betting on that play, right? If their bankroll is $1,000 and they're placing 2 units, that means they're betting $20. Whereas if they're a very sharp, serious sports bettor, their bankroll could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. So basically, my point is unit sizes are not optimal. This is not the optimal way to manage your bankroll. But the reason it works, one of the pros about units, is it scales between bettors, right? For a brand new sports bettor who just, let's say, has a bankroll of $200, one unit for them is $2, whereas one unit for someone with a bankroll of, let's say, $10,000 is $200. So units scale. But kind of the flaw of units is you also need to remember there's no dollar value associated. So I'm not trying to, unit shame or say people with small bankrolls shouldn't be listened to. But if someone just says, hey, I'm betting 1 unit on this, and you don't know how much they're wagering, you don't know how reliable, that bet is, right? If someone's ever betting $2,000 on something, unless they're just extremely rich and have unlimited money, it means something. They're very confident in that bet. That's 2,000 real dollars. We all know what $2,000 cash means. Whereas if someone's like, yo, I'm betting $2 on this, and for them that's 5 units, it's like, dude, it's $2, right? That's less than the cost of like a McDonald's hamburger. It's still just $2. And the whole point is confidence is displayed, right, with dollar amounts. So if someone's betting $100, I'm obviously going to be more confident in following their play than someone betting $1, right? Someone betting $1, like I just got a pack of Mentos for $1, so I don't really care if someone puts $1 on some crazy parlay, because all it means is they're putting $1 on some crazy parlay at the end of the day, right? It doesn't mean that, they're following this genius bankroll management system. No. So at the end of the day, units are a little misleading in my mind, which is why what I'm recommending to you next is really how you should be managing your sports betting bankroll. So the optimal way to manage your bankroll, which is what I used when I started sports betting, is called the Kelly Criterion. So the Kelly Criterion essentially takes into account how profitable a bet is, what your bankroll is, and it tells you, theoretically, what is the optimal amount of money to risk on this specific bet, to minimize your risk of going bankrupt. Of course, you don't want to go bankrupt. So if your bankroll is $1,000, you should never be betting $750 on a specific play, right? So the Kelly Criterion tries to minimize your risk of ruin or your risk of going broke and having your bankroll go to zero, while also maximizing your potential profits, right? So of course you're never going to go broke. Let's say your bankroll's $1,000. If you're betting 10 cents on everything, it's pretty hard to go broke, right? It's going to be pretty hard to go broke because you're only betting 10 cents, right? So there's kind of a fine line between actually making money and consistently growing your bankroll if you have an edge, and then also betting too much where your risk of ruin is too high. So I'm going to flip over to my screen and we'll go a bit deeper into the Kelly Criterion, and hopefully this video is helpful. So let's go through the Kelly calculator very briefly. Now, what I recommend for you is you just put in a Kelly multiplier of 0.5. I wouldn't change this. I mean, some people will make a case for, 0.75 versus 0.25. But long story short, I recommend just keeping this at 0.5. And then there's only two inputs you need to a Kelly calculator. What are the odds that you're betting at? Number one. And number two, what is the win probability for your wager? Right? So let's say there's a bet, you're getting plus 105, and you're like, should be more like even money, plus 100. So I think plus 105 is pretty good value, and I think it's going to hit 50% of the time. So what this calculator is going to tell you is, okay, here is the fraction of your bankroll to wager, 1.19%. So that's essentially equivalent to 1.19 units, right? We previously discussed units. Now, but what's cool about this calculator is it will tell you, okay, imagine if we were getting plus 115 odds, we're still winning 50% of the time. So now we're getting better odds. We're not getting plus 105, we're getting plus 115. So now we should obviously bet more, 3.26%. We should put 3.26 units on this play. What if we're getting plus 165? Now we should put 9.85% of our bankroll on this play, right? 9.85 units. So long story short, as you change this odds number, the win probability around, you're going to notice that it will affect the fraction of your bankroll you should wager, right? So let's say instead of winning this play, 50% of the time, if we're like, we're actually going to win 52.5% of the time, it's going to win over 50% of the time. Now it's telling us, hey, bet a higher percentage of your bankroll, 3.63%, right? So that's just how you use the calculator. It needs a win probability and it needs the odds you're betting at, right? Now, one thing you can do on OddsJam, if you use OddsJam, the positive expected value tool, is you can put in your bankroll. So let's just say here I'm putting $10,000 and I'm putting a Kelly multiplier of 0.5. And what this calculator will do is when I go to the positive expected value tool, is it will automatically use the Kelly formula with a multiplier of 0.5 on a $10,000 bankroll, and it will tell me my recommended bet size, right? So we can see this play right here on Oral Roberts plus 3.5, plus 145 odds is pretty dang good value, right? FanDuel, Caesars have this only plus 132, plus 120. Bet Rivers is only pricing this at plus 118. So getting plus 145 on DraftKings seems like pretty damn good value, right? So it's like, maybe this is a play we want to go with, right? This is a play with a mathematical edge. In this case, 2%. So what this does is it just uses the Kelly formula to tell you, hey, based on your bankroll, based on the fact that your Kelly multiplier is 0.5, you should wager $70 on this play. So OddsJam will automatically recommend the Kelly Criterion optimal amount for you. And of course, as plays get less profitable, like you can see this play right here on Matt Rice, now it's only a $10 recommended bet size because the profit margin is a lot lower. 0.2%, $10, whereas here, 1.98%, $70, because this play on Oral Roberts is a lot better, right? Pinnacle, the sharpest bookmaker in the world, they're only pricing Oral Roberts plus 3.5 at plus 126. We're getting 19 cents of improvement. We're getting plus 145 on DraftKings. So a lot of value on this play on DraftKings. So we want to bet more on it, right? So you can use this recommended bet size on OddsJam. You just go into your settings, bankroll settings, and you put in your bankroll and the Kelly multiplier. So hopefully this was helpful, a little bit of background on bankroll management. And let's get, any questions, feel free to email me.